boat adrift for several weeks in the Andaman Sea. Journalist Priyali Sur in Delhi has been trying to get in touch with them.
So unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder to make contact with.
They are working on it, but we don't know when they might make an announcement. The committee hopes that all of the findings that they released in this massive report will help persuade the Justice Department to make the charges they have recommended. They recommended 4, including insurrection, but we do not know if or when the Justice Department will actually do that.
Kayla Epstein. The United Nations has criticised countries in South Asia for failing to help almost 200 refugees, believed to be mostly Rohingya Muslims, who've been on board a small boat adrift for several weeks in the Andaman Sea. Journalist Priyali Sur in Delhi has been trying to get in touch with them.
So unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder to make contact with the boat. I think that kind of explains the seriousness of the situation, because as more time lapses, obviously, the conditions and the survival conditions of the people on the boat reduces. The satellite phone battery kind of runs out. I don't know if they have the possibility of charging it. So even the family members have not been able to make contact with the boat since December 18th. So that's a really unfortunate situation. The last I heard from a family member was 2 days ago. And a family member had kind of received information or a voice note from the boat, which said that people have now started jumping off the boat because they're desperate. They think that if they can jump off, they can probably get to some point of rescue or safety. So that's what has been the latest information as of now coming from the boat.
What would be its ultimate destination?
The ultimate destination for all these boats are Indonesia. Why they go to Indonesia is because in the past they've seen many boats being allowed to disembark in Indonesia, and from there they kind of make their way to Malaysia, because a lot of Rohingya people go to Malaysia for work, and they either get labor work or their prospects are better than being at a refugee camp in Bangladesh. So a lot of them risk their lives, get onto these boats and go make that journey to get to Malaysia. But they can't do it directly by reaching Malaysia because the Malaysian Coast Guard is extremely strict and stringent. They don't allow these boats to disembark. So they go all the way to Indonesia, and from Indonesia, they make their way to Malaysia.
In terms of those who are still at sea, in peril, in boats that you've struggled to contact, have the Navy, the Coast Guard of countries nearby been alerted?
I received information from a family member of the boat on December 7th. It was like an urgent message saying, can you please help us? We know that the boat is in Indian water. I'm in India currently and I live in New Delhi. So I immediately contacted the Indian Coast Guard within like half an hour and immediately sent them the coordinates of where the boat was. I also made contact with the boat. So I had received the coordinates. I immediately sent contact to the Indian Coast Guard or the Maritime Rescue Coordination Authorities in the Indian Ocean. And soon after that, they say that they would go looking for the boat, but they have not confirmed, or they don't want to confirm rather, if they found the boat or they did not find the boat. They just keep taking the latest coordinates and they say, we will look for it. And if we find it, we will provide some kind of service.
Remind us exactly, according to the information you have, what kinds of people are on board? Men, women, children, ages, and so forth.
That's a good question, James, because most of them, a majority of them are women and children. When I say children, a lot of them are minors. In fact, family members have been sending me their photographs, their UNHCR cards. So if I see the date of birth on those UNHCR cards, so many of them are minors. And this is a population which is extremely vulnerable. We also need to keep in mind that this is a persecuted population which has already been through a lot and then have tried to survive the very hard conditions, living conditions in the Cox's Bazar refugee camp in Bangladesh. And all they were trying to do is trying to flee those conditions for a better life in another country. And the only option they had was to get onto that boat.
Priyali Sur, journalist in Delhi there. Well, just a recap of our main news this hour. France's President Emmanuel Macron denounces what he describes as an odious or heinous attack against Kurds in France, following the fact that a 69-year-old gunman, a French national, killed 3 people at a Kurdish community centre. There will be a vigil in Paris organised by the Kurdish Democratic Council in France in the evening. I'm James Reynolds. You're listening to OS on the BBC.